So I've been seeing more and more friends in my support groups dealing with doctors that are refusing to give them any help with their chronic issues. This seems to especially be a problem for the long haul COVID sufferers. Here's the 5 steps I had to take to get doctors to take me seriously. Tip number 1, bring an advocate. It literally took me 6 years and hundreds of tests to get doctors to even put the main reason I'd been coming in multiple times a month for years on my chart. The doctors always tried to get me to think it was all in my head, even after going to psychiatrists and psychologists to prove it wasn't. The reason I made bringing an advocate tip number 1 is because this is probably the most effective and easy way to get your doctor to actually believe you. But make sure who you bring, your spouse, your family member, your close friend, make sure they believe you and make sure they know your symptoms. The reason for this? Well, you know that severe brain fog that usually accompanies all our symptoms? That makes it so sometimes you're either flustered or you don't remember details that you should be bringing up, or you're just not making a whole lot of sense. My husband goes with me to my appointments and he has cleared up what I was trying to say so many times. And I didn't even realize I wasn't making sense. It was amazing just how having his presence in the room made the doctor sit up and listen. Huge difference. Tip number 2, don't be modest or downplay your issues. So at first, what a lot of people do is they downplay their issues, and you really should not do this. So the reason people might downplay their issues is because either A, their doctor is intimidating, or they previously haven't been believed, or B, you just don't want to look like a hypochondriac. It could also be because you're just in denial, which happens to a lot of us in the beginning. The thing is, as medical workers, we can usually tell when people are lying. Under-exaggerating comes off as extremely inauthentic and can actually cause you not to be believe. The trick is you need to be confident, be your own advocate, and go in with a plan. This is the important part here. Medical workers see a ton of people. You will make their job easier if you have a game plan laid out that you then ask them to help fine tune with their expertise. It's simple. Have a specific goal. Lay out some steps to get to that goal, either, tests you want maybe taken or exercises you could do that you think you could handle, things like that, depending on which doctor you're seeing. And then make a plan based on that and bring that with you. Tip 3. So keeping a journal is extremely effective. I know with the brain fog and extreme fatigue, it really just seems too difficult most days. But you really want to be keeping a record of your symptoms and how they affect your life. You can make it simple by keeping the records on a calendar, in a notebook, in a diary, whatever works best for you. Just make sure you write down every day. Things you want to make sure to write, what you can and can't do that day, how your symptoms are affecting your daily life. It helps to have your heart rate and blood pressure, that kind of thing. And also make sure to get copies and keep records of all of your medical tests and all of your notes and doctor appointments. Keeping this information will make your symptoms more understandable to doctors on how it affects you and why they need to help, and can actually help you in court in the future if you're trying to get disability. Tip number 4, do not ever be the one to bring up diagnosis or vax injury. Basically, try not to self-diagnose. It makes the doctors feel like you went over their heads and don't trust their judgment. Instead, the trick is to lead them with hints to where you want them to go. But you got to let it be their idea. You can say one of your friends had the same symptoms and their doctor diagnosed them with whatever, or someone in your support group had that happen. You can lead them with how you came to this conclusion. This will get you much, much further and is especially helpful with getting tests that aren't really that common. But never, ever mention if your symptoms and problems were caused by a vaccine reaction, unless they are extremely and utterly severe that you went to the ER immediately. Here's the thing. If the doctors think that putting something in your notes, that diagnosing with you something, or doing even certain tests will put their career on the line or their reputation on the line, they're not going to do it. They will only do the bare minimum to try and prove it wasn't the vaccine. However, If you go in and you say, I'm having symptoms, don't tell them where it came from. You're going to get so much farther. You're going to get diagnoses. You're going to get everything you need much easier. I would also suggest to try not to be the one to mention long COVID either, just because I've noticed in my support groups, a lot of people with long COVID are having the exact same issue as vaccine injured people. And it kind of is one of those fine line things right now because of the politics involved. Tip 5, you've heard me say it before, fire bad doctors. And when I say fire your doctor, I don't mean you have to be a jerk and fire them Trump style. You're fired. I harped on this in my video of critical life tips for long COVID sufferers. Basically, there are doctors that are just a bad match for you. Some have egos, but most of the time, it's just that they don't have experience in what you're dealing with. Just find a new one. You don't even have to tell your doctor you're looking for another one. And you can go through as many doctors as it takes to find one that will actually help you with your issues. And it's pretty easy. All you got to do is go on your insurance's website and find your listed doctors who are covered. I recommend researching them based on their specialties and what they've dealt with before, and kind of to a lesser extent, their star ratings, if they even have that. But I find that those aren't typically as reliable. When I joined Health Partners, I was actually able to search for doctors based on keywords in my area. So I was able to search for keyword chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, chronic illness, and it brought up doctors that had that in their little bios that have experience dealing with patients that have my issues. And the reason this is important is that way the doctor knows what symptoms to look for, they know what tests to administer, and they know that you're not faking it because they've seen it before enough times. For more chronic illness tips, you might want to try one of these videos. Let me know in the comments if these tips work for you or if you got a tip for others that I didn't mention. And if you want more of the same, like and subscribe. Let me know. I hope this helped. Keep surviving.